Hey, Steve Mignani here doing the Junkyard Crawl at Bernardston Auto Wrecking in Bernardston, Massachusetts with something, well, at one point, very, very special. This is a 1946 Oldsmobile Dynamic. Now, 1946 was the first year that Detroit got back into regular production of automobiles after taking a break from mid-42 through 45. I mean, we were at war with the Germans and the Japanese, so no new cars. So 46, Oldsmobile, like the rest of Detroit, pretty much rehashed 1942s, gave them a quick fresh lift or facelift, and then sold the heck out of them. Now this again is a 1946. Something new for 46 though is this hood ornament right here. And somehow through all these years this has survived. These are lucite fins on the back of that rocket motif. These things should have crumbled and crusted decades ago, but in 1946 this lucite was as exotic as carbon fiber is today. An amazing thing to see still in place. Now the front of the Oldsmobile on this, it's been defiled a little bit. We see somebody's added on some turn signals. They're not even symmetrical from side to side. That is not factory equipment. The turn signals on this were built into the front bumperettes. Trouble is, if there was any issues with the wiring or the socket or rust, these were hard to get at. This is where they ordinarily, the flashes would go. So you just bypass that and whip up a jiffy fix right here. Now this will have one of two engines, a flathead 6 or a flathead 8, and yeah, there's no way to know. This hood is barred shut, and what I never do is mangle stuff in the junkyard. It's not mine. So again, this would have either a flathead 6 or a flathead 8. Again, 1946, 3 model years before 1949, when the overhead valve 303 rocket V8 arrived and really revolutionized Detroit and the hot rodding scene. So this is going to be a flathead of some kind or another, an inline nothing motor. But let's look here at the wheels. Now this does have 15-inch wheels. And we can see here, these are tube type tires. Tubeless tires wouldn't come along until many, many years later. And so look at this, how the rubber is putrefying, the white wall on this thing right here. And again, it's a 1946 car. The original wheels and tires, I mean, this would have just been a special thing. People who bought new cars in 1946 were on waiting lists. I mean, the automotive situation in 46 was almost like it is now in this immediate post-COVID era where supply is nothing and people pay extra money to get a new car. Same thing in 46. So whoever bought this thing new was standing tall. They had a new car in 46. It was a big deal. Now this is a Dynamic, so it has these little chrome hubcaps, but check this out. You know, today, of course, you know, styled aluminum wheels are standard fare. Well, chrome caps like this were a big deal, but are they really chrome? Well, yeah, but no. This is basically the tin inner surface with a chrome overlay, which is more resistant to rust, but look at that. These are usually crimped together, these two objects right here. But and they'd snap right on. But again, this one has going the way of the rust monster right here in the junkyard. But again, that would snap on. So let's now trade places, Shane. If you want, jump around to the passenger side and we'll look inside. Something very interesting inside this 46 Olds Dynamic. Now it's a 4-door body, not that sexy, but it is a fastback. More on that in a second. But meantime, inside. Okay, first up, radio delete, kind of interesting. Now, here's the thing. The dashboards from Oldsmobile are all stamped or pierced with holes for the receiver and the knobs, but if you didn't pay the extra money, you didn't get it. This is the delete plate. These buttons look like they work, but they do nothing. They're just placeholders, and this little faceplate does nothing. That's radio delete right there. Somebody who bought this didn't want to pay extra, but they did pay for the clock in the glove compartment opening here, the door. Now, the clock's been removed. We can see right here, my fingers can be seen. So the clock was taken away, but it does have the clock. It is also something of a stripper because of all these block-off buttons here on the dash. These are places where optional things would have appeared or not, and these are the block-off buttons. But something we don't see on the floor is a clutch pedal. That's because this is a Hydramatic. Yep, Oldsmobile's automatic transmission. Now, Olds was the first American car maker in 1937 with a semi-automatic. By 1940, the fully automatic Hydramatic appeared, and this 46 had it. You can see right here the steering quadrant on the column, and it says Hydramatic drive. We have neutral, drive, low, and reverse. Now, we'll notice on this is a space between low and reverse. They're next to each other. Today, you can't have that because of too many people going from a forward gear to a reverse gear and getting them confused. But in this case, it allowed rocking the car from low to reverse in a snow or a mud situation to get unstuck. But the problem again was that without neutral between reverse and a forward gear, you could have accidents, and it happened. So before the government started designing cars, Detroit would allow you to have low and reverse next to each other, and we see it right here. Now this dashboard and steering wheel are in beautiful condition. The Oldsmobile crest on this steering wheel here, just beautiful. Now this car, of course, is you know, pretty well beyond the pale of restoration, but we can still learn from it. Let's go around to the back. Oh, before we do that, yeah, this is kind of cool right here. One thing about the Hydramatic, this is Car Life magazine from 1961, and Roger Huntington did a great story on the history of the Hydramatic, but something important to know about the Hydramatic is that it is not torque converter equipped. Right there, the bottom image is a torque converter. That third element in the middle, that's a stator. The top picture is of the fluid coupling, which is what Hydramatic used. Now the stator in a torque converter multiplies low-end torque, which helps the car get off the line. Well, when you don't have a stator and a proper torque converter, the fluid drive is not as effective at getting the car off the line. In fact, there's no torque multiplication. That's why these Hydramatics were 4-speed transmissions. They had a 3.95 to 1 first gear, which is ultra low. It's like being in a 10-speed bicycle in first gear. For contrast, this transmission's 3.95 to 1 first gear is super low. A Turbo 400, like a SS396 or Corvette, has a 2.48 to 1. So it's a super low first gear. And the reason for that fourth gear, it's not about overdrive. On these things, fourth gear is a 1-to-1. It's not an overdrive tranny, but because the fluid coupling didn't have torque multiplication capabilities, GM designed in a super low first gear, that 395 first. So kind of weird. Now drag racers like the 4-speed Hydramatic for its low first gear. And of course, this transmission was used throughout the 60s, really in a lot of drag cars and gassers and stuff. But again, it started in 1940, and this 46 has the Hydramatic. Now, one thing about the fluid coupling, it's actually more efficient at cruising speeds, like 5% slip, versus a converter, which can have as much as 15% slip. But again, that's when they're fully locked up. But around town, you need a low first gear with a fluid coupling if you want to accelerate in anything resembling a quick way. Okay, let's continue to the body on this thing. And we can see here it has a fastback style. This is one of several body types available. There was a convertible, there was a sedan with a notch, 2-door and 4-door, and this is the fastback or torpedo back, 1946. This was up till about 1949, the fastback was a big deal. Then it gave way to the hardtop style. But again, fastback styling not just in the 60s, not like on, you know, Rivieras and Chargers and Marlins and Barracudas and Mustangs. You could also get them on big GM cars. Now the trunk on this there's 3 holes right here where there was once a Hydramatic emblem right here. And just like a V8 today is a big deal, back then, if you had an automatic in your car, you bragged about it. And the Hydramatic logo would have gone right here. Okay, what surprises do we have in the trunk? Well, rust is what we have here. Yeah, here it is. The gas tank is located underneath the trunk floor, and this right here is a spot right there where the spare tire would be screwed to the side, vertically mounted. And, you know, again, but the beautiful thing here, jack instructions and the original beige paint inside of the deck lid. And, you know, on the other side of this trunk, pretty well preserved. But again, the side facing the atmosphere, not so much. So we've got to remember that 1946, Oldsmobile sold a total of 117,623 cars. It was a seller's market, and there's no doubt that this car probably had 4 or 5 buyers bidding, fighting to buy it at the Olds dealer when it was new in 1946. So it's kind of a shock to see it here at Bernardston Auto Wrecking, which is more than a junkyard, it's a classroom. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to the Steve Magson YouTube channel. Lots more to come.